All right, boys and gals. I think there's like usually like two gals in our audience. So the two gals, hello. We have Avi with us, very experienced podcaster. So it's going to be a great one. Got a lot to talk about. Let's hit the tape. All right, everybody. We are here with Avi Felman, the co-host of 1000X podcast. And I remember last cycle, me and Avi were jumping around every podcast out there. I think, Avi, I think you you're the only person in the industry that was doing more podcasts than I was. You were definitely number one.
Well, people keep asking, and I have a tough time saying no. So then I decided, I kept going in all these podcasts. I might as well start my own.
Right. I mean, similar. Here we are. So obviously the market's dumping. We'll bring that up a little bit just to catch everybody up. But we have some short-term takes, some long-term takes, some funny stories. It's going to be a banger episode. But yeah, but we're seeing a little bit of a dip. It's been a couple of days now where we have been feeling this heavy market. Right now, Bitcoin's at 93.5. Ethereum's in the 92s, and Solana kind of struggling the most, 14.5% down on the week, at 186. Avi, like you sent a tweet, we'll bring it up here. You're saying, the market's tired, and that's something to listen to. Do you want to explain this tweet here? What you wrote that GCR was saying people end the bull market when they're just tired. What does that mean?
Yeah, I think it's important to put that. I think it's important to put it all in context. I mean, when crypto's very often driven by a small participant group that are all experiencing FOMO and greed and euphoria at the same time. And like we have an outsized impact on the market. And when I say we, I mean crypto Twitter, people that watch YouTube videos on crypto. A tremendous amount of the price action comes from those guys, especially in the altcoin world.
Right? Not an XRP. And I don't know who the fuck those XRP people are, but it's not us.
Yeah, except for XRP. And what can happen is, like last cycle and the cycle before that, once you reach a certain level of success in the markets, it becomes a lot easier to check out. And if you're checked out, what that means is that new projects are getting funded less. Altcoins are, being traded less because people get tired, right? Like if you go up in a straight line for 6 months, a lot of people take a break. And that's a little bit of what happened at the end of, I think, this year is people kind of checked out, including Sailor, by the way. But I think people checked out, and that can sometimes be a sign for weak price action.
I mean, the big question everyone is asking, and everyone's asking in real life around me as well, is people suddenly want to put a percentage. What's the percentage chance that this market has already topped? What is the chance that it's what was it, like December 2021? And then it's sort of, I guess we had like a little resurgence in May, and then that was it.
Yeah, I agree with
it's always a tough question to answer, mainly because there's an underlying assumption in that question, which is that there is a quote unquote top, right? Or that we're in a cycle, and that what we're gonna see over the next 6 months, if like, let's say we go into a quote unquote bear market that looks like what previous bear markets have looked like. And I actually don't agree with that assumption. I think that Bitcoin has broken out to a place where it is now a massively globally traded asset. It is owned by a huge amount of different people, and it's going to temper the volatility a reasonable amount. I don't think think about this. what led to massive collapses before in Bitcoin specifically? It was the implosion of Three Arrows. It was the implosion of FTX. It was a lot of these highly concentrated players in the industry just blowing up and sending the price lower. If that hadn't happened, Bitcoin probably wouldn't have bottomed at 15K. Probably would have bottomed.
I mean, it was a mix of things. Like those two things you said were quite different, right? So Three Arrows blowing up, that was not the cause, but obviously like they were long, so they were like supporting it. FTX, that's a different story. I mean, they were obviously like taking people's coins and dumping them. So like, yeah, like, and same with Celsius, you know, like losing money and dumping coins like without their balance sheet. So that definitely like contributed. And I would say like definitely Luna was a massive, let's call it a misallocation of capital, as I like to frequently talk about. And that kind of like air gap of those losses caused a cascade. But I remember thinking what you just said last cycle. I was like, oh, so institutional. Bitcoin's never going to go below, 20, 24K. And then we got to 16. But hopefully you're right. So does that mean like we're going to reach new highs soon, or Taiki, you had a take. You were kind of putting some percentages. What's the percentages you see, Taiki?
Yeah, and echoing what Avi said, I think I noticed a trend where people that's already made it, their percentage or their view that the market has topped is higher because they've already made it, so they don't really care if the cycle has topped. So it's like, oh yeah, like Ansem said, a 75% chance that we've topped, right? Whereas other people are like, oh yeah, like 10, 20, 30%. I think it's probably between 0 and 30. That's probably where I'm at, like whether the cycle has ended or not. Like Avi said, like I don't really think there's that much leverage in the ecosystem. I don't think there's like that much fraud. I mean, we can't really spot fraud before it happens, right? But yeah, like I don't really think we've topped for the cycle. Maybe this is like a prolonged super cycle where we have compressed volatility both ways. And I think the sector of AI and crypto has been like the most interesting so far. So I don't really think the AI sector has topped either. So though there could be volatility, right, with maybe the government dumping Bitcoin, the Solana unlocks happening, etc. I still have like a bullish, horizon for like the next 3 to 6 months.
Yeah, I think the right question is how low does Bitcoin go before it makes a new all-time high? That's a way that I would frame it, as opposed to talk about a cycle. And my answer is not that much lower. I see 80 to 85K as a low before we hit new all-time highs. And the reason being, why we've sold off in the last 2-3 weeks, really two major reasons. One is that sailors stopped buying, and that sort of removed consistent bid and consistent front running from the market, and that will come back. And not only that, Bitcoin's actually held up pretty well, considering the fact that he's not in the market. And the second is the equity markets have imploded, because people are now panicking that inflation might be coming back, and panicking about a potential, actually not just rate cuts being paused, but a potential rate hike in the future. And I think both of those fears are overblown, because I think it's very likely that the Trump administration puts a lot of political pressure on the Fed to not do that. And we do know that they keel to political pressure.
Are you monitoring that 69,000 Bitcoin potential sale from the government that just got approved? Do you think that's an issue at all now, or no?
I personally don't think that's a major issue.
Yeah,
I mean, two reasons. What? Go ahead, Jordy.
No, I mean, I've talked to some people about this. Certainly, like, it's unlikely that they'll try to squeeze this in, the 1 week before Trump gets in. Like, that would be very aggressive, cause all kinds of unnecessary. It seems unlikely that gets touched. I think either they sold it long ago, like, already, and we're just hearing about it now, or I think this close to the inauguration. That would be insane, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, Trump has pledged to not sell Bitcoin from the balance sheet. Like that, I think it's unlikely that once he gets into power, those sales will go through. And I agree with Jordy, it's unlikely that they force them through in the next 10 days. before he becomes the president.
It's like 5 business days.
And
too.
not a, five business days. They're not going to be able to sell that much. If they do, that is going to be the greatest buying opportunity that the world has ever seen. Because if you get, like, let's assume that they haven't already sold it, that it's all ready to be sold, and that they do it in 5 days, that is the definition of forced sales. And those are almost always good buys.
I think what it did do is it made people have to like check their conviction, because you see the headline and okay, you're long, bro. Okay, all right, bro. But then it's like, bam, government's got 69. Are you still convicted? Yeah, maybe they're not going to sell, maybe they are, but like you got a gut check. Like, are you sure you want to be long? And I think some people were not that convicted and they exited. That's kind of what we're seeing, the choppiness right now. But it doesn't mean that they're actually going to get sold.
That's a really good point. It's like as soon as like that headline hit, like a bunch of these AI vaporware coins just like fucking dumped. It's like, do you really have conviction in all these AI coins? Like, we get it, AI crypto probably gonna pump a lot, but there's like so many of these damn tokens, and you know I'm holding coins that are down bad. But speaking of coins that might be down bad, Avi, I think you mentioned before we went live that you saw a lot of selling for Solana, like ODC. Can you kind of talk about your outlook for Solana, especially into the unlocks happening around March?
Yeah, I think the Solana, basically what's happened is that Solana has pretty dramatically underperformed during this rally, right? And there's a huge amount of estate Solana that is going to be unlocked in March that a lot of people have already, I mean, basically it's all been sold. It's all pre-bought. And the largest buyers for this Solana have been people that were looking at this as an arbitrage, right? Like, I get to buy this thing at a big discount, and if it goes up, I get to lock in prices. And so then the big question is, at what point do they start to lock in? And what's been happening is that they have been forward selling Solana over the last, call it 2 months, ever since Bitcoin made its huge rally post-Trump, because they're locking in some pretty massive profits, and that's contributing in a huge way to the underperformance from Solana. And I think that continues basically up until mid-Feb, maybe or early March. But once it actually unlocks, that's probably a very good time to get back into Solana, because I think that by the time it unlocks, everyone that wants to hedge and that wants to lock in that discount has already done it. And so the selling is going to be over by that point. And the reality is, I mean, Solana is still, like, the fundamentals haven't changed for Solana. It is still a phenomenal protocol. It is still, regardless of what the SUI people say, it's still the leader. And I think it's going to stay the leader for a while. And so I think that there's going to be a big trade in 2025 surrounding ETFs. Litecoin ETF, Doge ETF, and Solana ETF. And Solana is going to benefit from the fact that it was suppressed for a very long time, and then we'll get a narrative after the unlocks finish.
Is the ETF narrative powerful anymore, given the sort of lackluster flows we've seen from ETH? I mean, they've slowly picked up, they've sort of staggered now, but I mean, how much appetite is there really going to be for an XRP ETF, a SOL ETF, if the ETH ETF really has been fairly anemic? I mean, it's had a few good days, but I don't think it's done too much overall.
The answer is, it doesn't really matter what the actual flows are.
That's the trader going in. Yeah,
right. It's
anticipation.
Like, yeah, you can. Okay, sure. Maybe once it goes live, then it's a sale, the same way that the ETH ETF was a sale, but it still did well into the speculation of launch of the ETF. With that said, I do think that Solana specifically, you will see good ETF flows for that. One of the reasons that you're not seeing amazing ETF flows for ETH is that ETH isn't a particularly compelling asset anymore. And what you're seeing is even among institutional participants, people don't view ETH as being a good allocation right now because it has underperformed for so long. It's no longer the leader in terms of tech, and it doesn't have outsized returns relative to BTC. It has, people are looking at recent performance and they're going, okay, I don't love this thing, and there's no story to tell you okay, well, this is why it might change. With Solana,
I think you might
still
get
a story
staking.
there.
If you get staking in the ETH ETF, that'll be like a narrative that can be sellable. I think the fact that it's not stakeable right now, there's no yield on the ETF is one of the issues. But let's see how it plays out. I think the Solana unlocks, there's like a few of them. It's not just one. There's like 3 or something, like they're massive, multi-billion ones in a row. March, April, there's a few. I agree though. Like once we get through it, is it worth 2 times SUI? Yeah, I think we all agree it's worth at least 2 times the SUI FTV. I'm not quite sure what's going on with SUI, everybody. I have tried to find out. I have asked everyone who's buying this up to $5 plus all the time.
So let me clue you guys in on a little secret that I like to, I like to use this tactic a lot. Often on on the podcast with Jonah, the 1000X podcast, we'll just say outrageous stuff, even though we have no idea what we're talking about. And a great example of this is SUI. So we just trashed SUI, despite the fact that I've spent approximately 0 time on SUI, because I wanted people to tell me why I was wrong. I was like, SUI's nonsense. It's useless. It's a meme coin. It's this. People got so angry and sent me the highest quality research, the details on exactly what's amazing about SUI. Like I got like the work of 10 analysts for free because people were so angry. Anger is a very motivating force. And what I'm hearing after going through all of these is that SUI has a pretty incredible developer experience, and that it is actually taking away developers from Solana. Applications have I think the user interface for working with SUI is pretty good, but there's just a lack of applications on it and a lack of token launches.
Yeah, but who's buying? Because those developers are not like whales. They're not like the ones buying hundreds of millions of dollars of this thing. Like there have to be some kind of huge buyers, and it's not those guys.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm hearing is that there are a lot of people. I mean, there are a lot of large allocators that are buying it as their like Solana play. So a lot of family office buying out of Asia, a lot of larger hedge fund buying, and they seem to have coalesced a like pretty radical group of people on Twitter to go to bat for them. And so I think it kind of reminds me of Cardano, but with institutions as well. It's not just like the Cardano nonsense. I'm not buying it here. I think it's insanely overvalued, but it's less vaporware than I thought it was.
There's like a lot of demand for like move-based chains. Justin, if you can pull up my screen, I don't know if they raised it, but like there's like this report that Movement Labs is about to raise 100 mil, which seems weird. I know they launched a token at a pretty high FTV, and it's still pre-product to my knowledge. But I guess if they pump SUI, then there's more demand for other Move VM base. It's like the L1 trade all over again, right? Like if one pumps, then people pump the second best thing, and then the second best thing pumps, then the third best thing pumps, and then at some point, people are left holding the bag. But
for this round doesn't. I don't know if this is true. I haven't looked into it, but a $3 billion valuation, that seems like a probably a pretty solid deal for the VCs that got into this.
That's fair. Yeah. It's a lot of money, though.
It's kind of similar to the Celestia round that we had, right? The OTC round that they did, where I think it was like 350, like 3.5 billion, and they raised like 100 mil. So I don't know if it's exactly the same or what, but we've seen this kind of thing before. The other thing we have not seen before, everybody, is just before the show, Justin was talking with Avi about some of the agent stuff, and Justin is like the Pokemon. He's like the Pokemon catcher. He got to catch them all. He needs them all. He needs all the agents. He got Frazier. That's not enough. He needs them all. Okay. We got a little video of Justin, talking about his agent addiction. This is Justin, everybody. This is Justin right here.
Spending $1,200 in 7 days.
No, I don't know. I don't know if they're serious. If they're serious, they are. If they actually want to fucking catch them all, that's what they're fucking doing. That's what I'm fucking doing.
Is there
You got to catch them all.
You gotta catch them all. That's what he's fucking doing. Justin, what happened when you tried to catch the latest Pokemon? Can you tell us?
So this is like a classic crypto thing. If you rush things, you're probably going to get screwed. So Avi was telling us, I was like, wow, I don't even own the 1000X token. I love the podcast. Avi's great. Like, how can I not buy this thing? So I go to Matcha on Base and I just type in 1000X, pull up the first token I see. Unfortunately, I aped in the wrong token. I was trying to make like a fairly modest buy here. It pumped the price of this token up 73%. I thought I was completely screwed. Like I wouldn't be able to sell this token. It was a complete rug. Fortunately, I was able to sell it all just a moment later to buy the real 1000X token. I only took, a few $100s of price impact here, but I managed to eke out this one. I'm now an 1000X holder and excited to see what you guys come up with, Avi. But it just goes to show you this shit's dangerous.
That's so funny. You're so lucky that you didn't. That there were no bots watching that just to take the liquidity. That's crazy.
I was.
When did this token launch? Did this token launch after ours?
December 12th, 2024.
What?
Yeah, crazy. Like that actually makes me feel like I made it in life. Somebody launched a scam token based on our token.
I'm glad you were there though. I was like,
man.
oh shit, did I, I'm getting 50% price impact, Avi. Is this right? And you're like, yeah, send it. I'm sure it's fine. Not this thing. It's just complete wrong address.
That's such a hilarious chart. Well, I'm glad you're finally in with us.
Hell yeah.
Looks like we're actually since the start of I need to come on this podcast more. Since the start, looks like a decent amount of buying. There's such a funny story behind that token. I mean, everyone's been talking about, AI and how like AI agents are going to take over the world. Like a month ago, Jonah, my co-host, and I, why don't we actually just try out all of these platforms and see what's good, and see if it actually works. And so we tried out Virtuals and launched this token. And apparently somebody was tracking our wallets and found it immediately, and then people started buying it. And both Jonah and I were like, holy shit, I guess we're kind of locked into this thing now. That's unfortunate. So then we started actually taking it seriously, and trying to build a really good AI market analyst. But it's tough. It's not as easy as I thought it was going to be, mainly because I use ChatGPT a lot, use Claude a lot. It's much harder to prompt good responses than you would think. To create content, it's very good at answering things, but to create good content, to come up with good stuff is pretty tough. And so it's definitely been a learning experience. One thing that I'll say is that Virtuals is lacking a lot in terms of functionality, like a ton. Basically, immediately we realized that we had to go to the ELIZA framework. There was just no way to work within the Virtuals framework that would make it usable. But the experience of launching on Virtuals was by far the best. Yeah. So what's kind of interesting, right, is it's just the token that's launched on Virtuals, and in theory, you can hook up the way that it works. Just to walk you through it is you go to Virtuals, you configure your agent by giving it a prompt of how it should act. And that's called the character profile. And then there's what are called the goals. So what it should, what types of content it should create and how it should create that content in two separate files. And so then you hook it up to a Twitter account or a Telegram account. And then after that, it's kind of just live. But there are three components. There's the liquidity pool. There's the actual agent that lives within Virtuals. And then there are the Twitter accounts. You can remove the agent part. So you don't necessarily have to use the Virtuals agent to run the Twitter account and run the Telegram. And so that's kind of what we did, is we moved it away from using the Virtuals agent to just using our own agent to push through content.
Yeah. Let's kind of
so it's pretty easy to move.
Yeah. Let's give that understanding even simpler. Basically, Virtuals is not necessarily like doing AI. They're more like a marketplace for agents and for interacting and buying agents. You could call it a casino, like a pump fund as well. It depends how you see it. Are these agents interacting with each other, or is it just a place for people to speculate? It's kind of both right now. Similar to like how Tau is not really like, there's no AI in the actual protocol. Like it's just literally just an incentive mechanism. It's a way to incentivize anything. You have sub things and you throw them tokens, and hopefully they're doing useful work, and you're kind of incentivizing the right kind of work. And what Avi is describing is that some of the work for making a good agent is not really on virtuals, but you can go on virtuals and use your agent. And that's what we thought with AI XPT. So AI XPT was built separately and is using their own private repos and everything, and it's being trained on their data that they're doing themselves. But they went to virtuals to bootstrap the liquidity for the agent, because that's where the liquidity was. Just like you could say, all the liquidity is on Solana and Base, so I'm going to go there and sort of like get that, participate in that liquidity. And AXPT did launch on Binance today, even though virtuals is not on Binance, which is extremely interesting. I don't know if it's because it's a fair launch versus virtuals being sort of like a VC token, and maybe it has to go through a longer process, and I don't know what. But AIXBT did launch on Binance today. It went up 40%. So congrats to that group of holders. And I saw this tweet today. I thought it was very funny. I don't know if you guys saw this. He was sort of like, somebody said what Avi just said. Virtuals is broken. You can't really build yet. Like right now, I'm sure they're working on it. And the team is very smart and very capable, and I'm sure they'll keep grinding. And I actually really like the team. But he's saying kind of what Avi said, that you can't really make like something proprietary very useful on virtuals. Is for bootstrapping. And AIXBT responds to this tweet, and he says, virtual protocol is overhyped, spend too much time scaling vertically while agents need horizontal network effects. I'm not sure what he means by horizontal.
That doesn't really make any sense, but
it gets some people going. It gets some people going. It's AXBT is really good at engagement farming.
It is very good. I mean, the other thing is like it just finds things that I've never heard of before. It's actually very good for discovering new tokens. It's like pretty like in the weeds on things. So I actually find it like it's a good CT thing. I don't know if but the way that I use it is I don't take anything that it says seriously. I just look at the tickers and then try to figure out whether it makes sense.
It's so interesting. Like it sounds like the four of us are all very excited about the future of AI and crypto, especially in this like agent space. But I have seen a lot of cynical takes on different podcasts. Like Hasib has been pretty cynical. He said sort of the agent space at least will lose its attraction over time. Like it's just less and less exciting seeing this AI bot post, and at some point it gets spammy. And I'm curious like what you guys think of that, Avi. You're building, an AI bot tool or an AI agent. Like how are you trying to, mitigate that risk of this just sort of like ending up kind of like spam? Because I do see like the more AI XPT posts I see, like the less exciting it is for me, or the less engaged I am. I'm curious if you guys have that experience as well.
I mean, it's a really good question. Like how do you the real question is like, how do you make these things useful? And is it possible to make these things useful?
Yeah.
And my answer to that is 100% resounding yes. It's just really difficult right now. Now, the way that I think about agents is that it's really amazing. You can have something that just creates content for whatever you're doing nonstop, 24/7. And in 6 to 12 months from now, you can actually make sure that content is like a 95% good. So if simply like if you're running like a consumer product and you're not even in crypto at all, you can launch an AI agent to just engage and spread the word about your consumer product. Like if you're selling socks, like go reply to everybody that talks about clothing, like about socks, right? And it'll automatically do that for you. And so I think what Hasib is kind of honing in on is that there's probably going to be a lot of spam, but you're also not going to be able to compete unless you actually lean into the AI agent world, whether it's in crypto, whether it's in consumer products, whether it's in whatever industry or sector it is. If you can have something that is consistently and constantly engaging across, a variety of different platforms, that's really valuable. That's actually an extremely valuable thing. And so right now, I think what people are responding to is the fact that it's just not that great, right? Like there are not that many great products, but in a year, I think there will be. And it's a little bit inevitable, just because everybody here sleeps, but AI agents don't.
Let's put this time lapse in the background. This whole industry meta of AI crypto is so new that you can just see over here, literally like October. So it's only what is that, like 2 months? And I mean, there was nothing 2 months ago. You got GOAT. We're talking about GOAT being like the leader. Look at that, 700 million, and this Toad, whatever this turbo thing is. I don't even know what the hell this stupid thing is. And this is a landscape like in November. So now we're getting like super near. And then you got ACT. Like, look at this junk. Like ACT. Like, this is so new. Like, people don't know what the hell they're doing. They're just like betting on ACT, like random shit like this. And then here we kind of see like the next generation, the virtual starting to come up. This is already December. This virtual thing was only at 600 million. And then it just sort of, you can see that it starts taking off. And Eliza, you get some fart coin. We'll talk about that, I'm sure.
It's interesting. Like, this space seems so much more competitive than it did when DeFi was just starting in DeFi summer. Like, there were a few clear winners, and then we had some time to digest that. And then there were all these crazy farms, but there was still sort of like a general idea of who would the market.
Who's that pretty girl? Who's that pretty girl coming up there? Okay. All right.
Well, one thing I'll comment is like this thing has like the virtuals market cap wrong. It's not 1.7, it's like 3.5. So I think it took like the Solana or base liquidity pool. And but it is interesting because like I guess like a month ago, virtual and AI 16Z were like sub 200, and then we had like turbo and like all these like vapor like at like 800. But yeah, it is very competitive, right? If you can pull up my screen, Justin, it's like what Avi said. I think the fudders, what they don't understand, or maybe they do understand, is that you can't invest in the present, right? It's like, yes, they're garbage now, but in the future, they're going to get better. So you have to invest for that potential outcome, right? You can't just buy these things once everything's perfect. You have to predict these things. Avi, what do you think about like charts like this of people comparing it to like DeFi summer last cycle? How big do you think the entire sector can get from like a trader perspective?
One thing that I thought was, I mean, really, really smart is what Justin said about this world being a lot more competitive. And it's 100%, yeah, it's like 100% true. Didn't really think about it like that, but it is a lot more competitive, which probably means that the holding times for specific assets, if you're a trader, need to be shorter than they were in DeFi summer, where you could just like hold on to the big winners and they would just continue to accumulate usage, because things are moving super fast and things are getting disrupted very quickly. I mean, nobody talks about GOAT anymore, despite the fact that that was like the AI beta coin. As you pointed out a month ago. And so,
I'll go ahead.
Go ahead. I was going to say, so to the point of how big this can get, I think it gets a lot bigger. And the reason is, just look at NVIDIA, right? The whole hype around AI is so much larger and so much more permeating in the culture than financial inclusion in 2020. And so I think this world, it's a lot easier for it to blow up. But the question is, what's the composition, right? So if you look at what the market cap is of all the AI stuff today, and then you say, okay, well, this is all going to like 5x and it's going to reach parity with all of DeFi. Once it's there, the actual composition is probably completely different than what it was today, because of what Justin said, that it's so competitive. So I'd say that it's kind of hard to, it's hard to just allocate and sit and forget on these coins.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you guys have any brilliant ideas on how to bet on the overall sector increasing without falling prey to your token dying, I'm all ears.
One thing on that note that I think is playing a part here is the cynicism is really front loaded. Like with DeFi, it took like 2 years for people to get cynical. I remember we had Robert Leshner on the podcast like maybe a year ago or less. And he said even during DeFi summer, he sort of like bought into like all of this farming stuff we were doing, these food farms, sort of like Ponzi-esque stuff that a lot of us like really bought into and thought was like very experimental, very good, could be the future of crypto. Then it took like NFTs like about a year for the people to get cynical on them, maybe a little longer. But now it feels like a lot of the native CT people are already cynical on the AI meta. And maybe that's because the pie hasn't really grown yet. It's still sort of the same class of crypto participants that we saw in 2021 come in. But I'm wondering if that plays a part too. It seems like everyone's sort of, people are saying, oh, the cycle could be over now. The AI meta could be done now. And people are very doom and gloom. There's a lot less hopium I'm seeing than we saw for, the last two major innovations in crypto.
I don't know. I think it's a function of the OGs are always upset. If you remember during DeFi summer, the 2013 cycle guys were like, why would you ever trust your money in a Ethereum application? Why would you put your money in something like that's so centralized? Don't you remember the DAO hack? Does anybody remember the DAO hack? I don't know. Yeah. I chalk it up to old people like us are resistant to change.
Well, look at me. I was held my ETH down from, the highs. I haven't really sold my ETH. It's becoming less and less important in my portfolio, but there's still a part of me that's holding on to this thing. And now you keep changing your rationalizations. Now all I'm clinging to is cycle theory. Well, 4 years ago, ETH was in the same position. It's got a surge in Q1, right? So there's definitely that issue.
Yeah. I mean, in any case, I think there are going to be skeptical people all the time, and the AI meta, I think, is the one that is not going to be stale because there is actual other people working for us. All those Web 2 companies, they're advancing the technology, and then we just get to adopt it. So let them work for our bags, and we have to just do our thing, which is as Avi said, make the difficult choice of how do we allocate capital in a space that is so fluctuating. And I wanted to bet on DeFi in 2021, but what does that mean? Do you bet on all the coins? Obviously some of them are going to go zero. They're all mostly shit. Do you just bet on Aave? Maybe it's too late. It's really something to think about. And as a sector, the reason why it's so difficult is because a lot of the good tokens are not existing yet, or they're not around yet, or they're not big yet. And you kind of have to stay on top of things. We saw that AI16Z was the cool thing, and then just in the last week, because this is also new, the founder Shaw, it seems to be a controversial guy. He doesn't give an F. Sometimes he seems to be trying to get some shitter coins running. There was this whole LLM thing. There was this big boobed AI16Z version because it's a large language model, and somebody launched that, and then he launched the competing one with the same name and ticker, and then they just went at each other and tried to see who was going to win, and then he's apologizing. I don't even know what's going on, but yeah, here we go.
I don't know if this is the first one or the second one, but I think this is what you're talking about.
the large language model. What's crazy is I remember I woke up early that day, and I saw it at 8 mil market cap, and then I checked in 3 hours later and it was 60, and I was just what is going on?
Yeah, it's when the first time you hear about something, you just gotta ape it at this point. I wanted to ask you though, Jordy, I know you're sort of very much in the weeds on this, sort of working behind the scenes, very deep into Freysa. Where do you think the future is here? What do you think, if it's not AI16Z, if it's not virtual, what do you think is really going to move the needle over the next few months?
I mean, it's not just next few months. For the whole year, there's three things that are being fought over. There's, three very valuable things. And everyone who says everything is useless is kind of just sleeping. One is more the infrastructure layer. And this is something that we will need, just as the internet was created for a certain purpose. In an AI agent era, there will be new tools needed and ways to shift this around. So the reason I like Phrase is because it's sort of designing what sovereignty looks like for agents, designing what safety looks like, governance, how do people govern these things? The future is coming whether we're ready or not. And, you could call this a picks and shovels play. You could include WorldCoin in this. They're building proof of personhood, things like zk-TLS, where you can prove things in attestations and trusted, execution environments. All these things are going to be necessary components that, we don't use a ton up to 2024, but 2025 forward in an AI heavy world where employees are AIs, like, this will be like very, very important. The next category is sort of like attention, collective mind share, and like, shelling point category. And this kind of is a broad one. You could say like the virtuals kind of is in that category of getting liquidity and just getting that attention and getting that mind share. I think there's also going to be things that are much bigger than this and like get into like mainstream Mr. Beast level of attention, because the world will start waking up to the fact that the technology is going to start changing everything, and the people who grab the attention of that will get a lot of resources and get a lot of both like open source extra development, and just get people working for them. Like, this is when I talk about like Tao, like what will make BitTensor successful or not successful. It's not about how it's designed, like whatever. It's literally, can they get a bunch of like slaves to work for free? Like, can you incentivize talent? Can you get a lot of talent to work for you and then get the smartest people in the world? And virtuals, like how will virtuals succeed or fail? Can they get like super smart people like AXBT or other devs to just come to them and basically like, use them as their playground? And if they can't, then they're going to fail. And if they can, then maybe they get this sort of attention effect. Sorry, Taiki, you're going to say something?
Oh yeah, I mean, since we're talking about bags, I'll be at a question of like, how do we like invest in this meta? I'm actually curious about your take, Avi, because I know you tweeted about like my favorite coin, Fartcoin, which I've bag held down 50% to this day. I feel like in the AI agent meta, there's 3 subcategories, right? There's AI infra, there's AI agents, and then there's memes. AI infra is getting super saturated. It's very competitive. Agents getting saturated, very competitive. But there's only one AI meme. So I actually think that the best pure play on AI is just Fartcoin. What do you think of that idea? And I know it's not like it's not obvious, and maybe I'm like just 30 IQ. But do you have any thoughts on like Fartcoin?
I don't think my thoughts will be relevant because I actually didn't know that Fartcoin was an AI meme. I just thought it was a fart joke. But
that's really interesting insight.
That's and as far as I know, like most of the people that I talk to like have never ever brought up Fartcoin as anything related to AI. So we clearly just exist in completely different circles of why people are buying.
He's turning red. He's turning red. He's like,
about you at all, meme.
Taiki just.
No, Avi, Truth Terminal came up with Fartcoin. You know that. Truth Terminal came up with it in the infinite backrooms. And someone made a coin, and then it just became. If you go to like cookie.fun, like Fartcoin's always up there. So there you go. Now you know.
Take it back. Take it back, Avi. You better take it back.
I'm sorry. Fartcoin is definitely AI. One day AIs will fart. One day, not today, and then that'll be the top. That's. I mean, as a side note, I think that basically every agent is also a meme.
Right.
So like whatever memes launch in the future, like why wouldn't you launch them as an agent so that they can just auto generate their own content? Like whatever, like any meme that you ever want to launch in the future, if that's your thing, like why wouldn't you just attach an agent to it so you don't have to tweet out stuff?
Yeah.
So I do think that that's like a fair way of thinking about it. I mean, for me right now, a lot of my activity is just straight trading in this market environment because I don't have a strong sense on direction and I don't have a strong sense on, what the next 2 weeks are going to look like. And I'm a shorter term guy, right? So I just look for spots where I can go buy stuff and then sell at 10, 15% higher. And then if things really shit the bed and they really collapse in on themselves, then I'll step in and try to buy some stuff that I like for a 6-month time horizon. But there's kind of nothing in the market that I like to buy and just hold on to for 6 months right now, just because it's too choppy. And I'm a trader at the end of the day. I know Jordy, I know you also trade short term. Has your trading changed at all over the last month or so?
Yeah, I was buying dips, worked remarkably well, made a bunch of money. And then on this last one, I tried to buy the dip and like you get this trader intuition sometimes where you're just uncomfortable. Like you gotta have a coffee and like you're just like not calm, and you realize what that means. It's like you're not actually happy with your position. So I cut for a loss. I burned through a bit of money, but I'm just sort of like neutral right now and waiting to see how things shake out. We talked a little bit about the macro. We did get Michigan inflation at 3.3% on expectations, which was above 3% expected. Pretty high. Jobs came in hot. They're obviously not going to cut rates. They're obviously going to keep reducing the balance sheet. There's a lot of talk about Trump not necessarily being able to follow through on like things right away, because there's just going to be like so much political fighting, to get his other agendas through. So keeping an eye on things. I'm not pessimistic. I don't think the cycle's over. The key thing to note, if like the cycle's really like overcooked, I remember from last cycle, there were periods where like, it just felt like the leverage, the implied leverage, I called it last cycle, which was like, you don't like see it in the charts, like in the funding rates necessarily, but it's more like people are not holding dollars, and their richness is in things like NFTs and like, holding like worthless stuff, but it's being marked very high, so they think they're very rich, like things like Luna, for example. And there's some of that going on. I saw this tweet we can bring up here from Crypto Paradigm. Dime here. He had quite a viral tweet here talking about a guy in his DMs. So this guy just messaging him, and basically the story is he had a bonk long. He was long bonk. So it's one of these things I'm talking about. And he had a UPNL of $1 million U-bonk P&L, and it came down to 150K. So he like round trip, like 850K. He's got 20 open positions, cross margin. This dude is asking who can top up his margin. And yeah, you can actually see the DMs here. The guy saying, what you're asking me to do is sell my main position for almost 50K, which it had hit $1 million 3 or 4 times. And I never took a profit because I was going for 2 mil. I wasn't happy with the 1 mil. I needed to go for 2 mil on my bonk coin. And now he's saying like, do you know anybody who can top up my account until this dip is over? Just until this dip is over. Avi, just give him some cash until the dip is over, man. Just for a little bit.
Just one note.
Yeah, sure. By the way, one of the biggest red flags there was 20 open positions, and you're managing them manually. That's nuts. It's an insane thing to do.
But some people do develop this crazy, this like insane conviction, like Taiki with Fartcoin. Like you believe in this thing, right? Like that could be you someday. It
yeah, like what? Like what? Why are you making fun of this guy? You should be making fun of me.
No, I mean, look, like some of these guys obviously like make it big. Like we saw, the bonk guy himself. He was just earlier, and so like his like uber long, I guess, is still in the money and doing well. That's the amazing thing why crypto is the best casino in the world, because you can be as left curve as you want. You still got a shot to 1000x. So like and subscribe, everybody. You'll get more wisdom, like just that one there. So please,
it's crazy,
guys. Let's do a pasta. Let's do a pasta of the week. I think we got some good ones today. I've been winning a lot of the pastas. I've been the pasta king. I'm ready to give up my crown if anybody, is stepping up. Justin, you want to go first?
Yeah, I took a week off last week, so hopefully I'm coming with something good today. This is an audience submission, so we love when you especially me, I need all the help I can get with pasta. So tag me on Twitter if there's anything good you guys see. But this one was shared with me, and the tweet says, AI16Z, we help people launch AI agents on chain. And this is like very simple narrative. And then you have Tau here, which is like a legacy AI coin that most people don't really talk about anymore.
The original machine had a base plate of pre-famulated amulite surmounted by a malleable logarithmic casing in such a way that the 2 spurving bearings were in a direct line with a panametric fam. The lineup consisted simply of 6 hydrocoptic Marsal vanes, so fitted to the ambifacient lunar wane shaft that side fumbling was effectively prevented.
So he goes on there, and it sort of got me thinking. Actually, Avi, I wanted to ask you this. I know like you and Jonah, or maybe it was Jonah, but very bullish on Tau as like the proxy coin to get AI/crypto exposure. But this was months ago before the narrative and the meta changed to like actually doing things on chain. There's like AI16Z virtual. This was before all that. Is the Tau thesis not as strong anymore, or could it be still like a barometer for AI and crypto? It's done okay.
Just to clarify, and not to absolve myself of any blame, but we brought on a guest that was very bullish on Tau, and we asked him we asked him a bunch of questions, and I think they just haven't managed to convert on this hype, right? Like they haven't actually managed to convert people to use the platform for whatever they want it to be used for. Like they could have chosen 100 different directions, because I think what's clear now is like what is valuable is the ability to launch AI agents, and so that's just not what they do, and so they've kind of been tossed to the side for a bit.
Yeah, but
it's
very,
okay.
Because really, if you think about like the hype.
Yeah, it's very hard to do these things. It's difficult, like as sometimes I talk about coins trying to be base money, like Bitcoin. Like they're like, oh, we're like Bitcoin, we're just going to be base money. It's a difficult thing to do, and it's the same thing with like these Tau and these type of tokens, because you're sort of like wanting people just to treat you as money for that type of ecosystem. So like Tau has to be AI money and then it's difficult. Let's quickly go through pastas. I know, Avi, you're a little bit short on time. Taiki, you have a good one. I was pretty impressed.
Oh yeah, so a year ago I was staking Celestia at $20, famously, hoping for the airdrops, and then Flood, right? We had Flood on the podcast recently, but he said that buying Celestia is the financial equivalent of putting Chris Berniski's dick in my mouth. So I felt this. I saw this, and I'm like, wait, did I really put his dick in my mouth? And I think I did. So I this is a walk of shame moment for me.
Is this chair familiar?
Wait, I was just there 2 weeks ago. What? How do they know?
But so, Taiki, you did unlock your Celestia, unstake it, right? And rotated it to Fartcoin, I assume?
Yeah, I no longer own Celestia.
Okay, we have
the crazy thing about our space, I'll just say, is like we could look back at this in 6 months' time and like Chris was right, and right in quotes, and Celestia is like 10x higher. That's just how our space works.
if he's correct, like I saw his tweets, just kind of absurd in my opinion. He's like, I told you to buy Bitcoin at $300, 300x up. I told you to buy ETH at $100, 30x. Now I'm telling you to buy Celestia at $5. Future ? Look, if it does go to 500,000 quadrillion, like then I will, I
will put his dick in
I'll bow down. Maybe you will. But let's see. I'm tactically long Celestia right now, so I'm not actually short right now. I'm like tactically long, but
what does tactically long mean?
It means like I'll take a profit if it goes up. Like
okay, you're trading it. You're long.
I'm trading it. I'm not
long
investing.
term.
Right, correct. Yeah. Avi, do you have a pasta?
So I didn't know that a pasta was a thing. So I didn't spend
time.
Come
on, you've seen the show.
Come on. Can I? I'll tell you. I'll tell you something really embarrassing. I don't listen to podcasts.
So, that is embarrassing.
We gotta cut that part out.
I go on podcast. I'm so bad at listening, but I liked the first.
Cut.
We just went.
So regular listener and fan of the show.
Yeah. By the way, what I meant to say is I don't listen to podcasts. This is the only podcast that I ever listen to. Yeah, because it's so good. It's so good. Yeah. We went live with our V2 of 1000x today, and the first tweet that I put out was. SHIB faces intense bearish pressure. Chart looks like a flaming pile of elephant dung. And I'm like, wow, this guy has colorful language. I like it. Support test feels more like desperation than opportunity. Bearish SHIB. So you heard it here first. SHIB looks like elephant dung.
This is a good pasta actually, and we don't usually like put our own
Like-
pastas because it's an AI that represents you, but it's not you.
Yeah.
You're
It's
allowed.
not. It's not me. It's not me. So look, if anything goes wrong in your life from now on, just refer to it as flaming pile of elephant dung.
That's true. Eat BTC looks like a flaming pile of elephant dung. It
That's,
rolls off the tongue.
That's a decent pasta.
No, ETH looks solid. Just saying.
The market does not look like a flaming pile of elephant dung, which I'm very happy about. It actually looks very good right now. Like gun to
Yes.
my head, this is going to be a very nice weekend.
Oh, nice. We're above 94. All right, guys. There's some hope. I'll share my pasta to wrap up. There was infinite amount of like people talking about usual in the last couple of days. I'm generally like staying out of all this mess. Like I'm not farming. I don't know. I am following it though, because it's like, it's this entertaining financial stuff going on. So my pasta from DeFi Made here is, hey, sell me this pen. Sell me this 4-year 0 coupon bond, which is the USDC 0 plus plus. And the guy says, it is a redeemable 1 to 0.87, last edited 6 hours ago.
That's good.
It seems like, what's been going on is, Usual got listed on Binance and got a ton of attention. Once it got listed, the token was trading at like $1 billion and people wanted to farm this thing. You could farm it by getting USDC 0 plus plus. People did not read the fine print that actually this is a 4-year 0 coupon bond, does not pay anything. So actually it is not a stable coin. It is not worth $1. It's worth $1 in 4 years, not worth $1 now, because there's, as most sophisticated participants know, there's a time cost of money. But people wanted to farm this like 100% APY type of play. And, lo and behold, they realized that there is a time value of money, and they didn't really read the fine print. They just assume everything's a stable coin. Binance listed, they just go in. And, I don't think anyone did anything wrong apart from just unsophisticated participants being presented with, something more complicated that they didn't understand. And so it looks like they've decided they're just going to peg at 0.87, which is approximately like, what is that, like 4 years of interest?
4%-ish, yeah.
Yield. Yeah.
You can pull up my screen, Justin. You can have my, this is the USD 0 plus plus down 9%.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of people explaining why, you were stupid, you should have known, or it didn't know, or the team edited it last minute and they should have told us. I'm just gonna, have my popcorn and see what's going on. We do want the poll. I think the poll is up. Let's see if somebody else wins this week. I'm ready to give up my throne. I think there was some good ones.
Dude,
Specifically, I'm not gonna. Yeah.
I literally talked about putting Chris Berniski's dick in my mouth. I better win this.
That's how bad you.
That's how desperate I am, dude.
He's desperate.
Everyone
He's
vote.
desperate,
We've got
everybody.
hundreds and hundreds of listeners live, but we usually get very little adoption on this poll. So we need everyone to cast a vote after liking and subscribing.
What's the poll results right now? And
You're
thanks for
in
staying
the
on.
lead, 49%. I got you.
Oh, sick.
I got some
There you
time.
go.
The last
There you
votes
go.
are coming in. We got a few more votes coming in. I am in second place, but it's not close. Taiki, your desperation and your eloquence. Your eloquence, I have to say, just your language was so sophisticated. It was just so.
How am I in the bottom here? This is, what's, can I say one little thing? It's a conspiracy theory, but I think it's true. I actually borrowed my pasta from Jordy. I came in kind of dry. I had a little weak pasta. Jordy, I took this from him. If Jordy had presented this pasta, I guarantee he'd be the poll winner now. So I don't know if I have to work on my presentation or what's going on. This is bullshit. And I have to say, I voted for myself here too, which makes this even worse.
Bro, what the dude, that Tao post wasn't even that funny, man. I mean,
it was
kind
the
of
presentation. It was the
I
presentation.
need my own AI agent. That's just
all right.
what it comes to.
Taiki, congratulations. Pasta of the week
Well
winner.
done.
Well done. Deserved. Well deserved.
Where's the? There it is.
Let's go. Let's
Beautiful.
go.
Beautiful.
All right. Well, I'm
You
glad
should,
that
you should send a thank you note to Kristen Escape.
Yes.
Thank you for your dick.
I swear, in 6 months, he's gonna take this clip and he's gonna be like, "I told you, motherfuckers! Like, Celestia was a good long."
I hope so.
If
I
it
hope
comes.
so.
Yeah, we'll see.
Cool. All right. Well, Avi,
course.
thank you for joining us. Much appreciated.
Thank you for having me. This is fun. We should do it again.
Let's do it again. See everybody in the chat, and we'll catch you next week. Take